So obviously, everybody's drafting process is going to be a little bit different. It's that distortion thing coming in. The way you develop your ideas is as important as what they are in the first place. The drafting process, the structure tends to be the same. For example, my first draft will be, anywhere from 1 to 10,000 words about just like a kernel of an idea that showed up in my free writing, right? Just go. Just see what it is. Just take that idea and run with it in any direction at all and just see what happens. And then you hit the end of the first draft. And usually I'll take that draft and I'll stash it for a day, 2 days, whatever. And then when I come back to it, I'll read everything, and I'll open up a new document, and I'll write about the same thing, but fresh, just to see if anything changes, if anything new comes up, just to see what other ideas have kind of worked their way in, if anything's matured as it's kind of sat on the back burner. And yes, it's a completely different document between the first and second drafts. It should be, because your second draft is not an edited version of your first draft. If you're doing that, you're jumping the gun, and your ideas aren't going to be as great as they need to be. The third draft, you may start taking blocks of text from the second into the third and expanding and experimenting and seeing what needs more research, what needs additional details. And you do that again and again and again, 4th, 5th, 7th, 10th draft. Some folks will write 40, 50 drafts for a book. Some drafts, you'll never see the end of it. Like, they'll die before they hit the final draft. And that's just what it is. Sometimes like my 6th draft is better than my 9th somehow. Fortunately, you've saved everything, so you can go back and, pick things up and expand upon them. But the process is important, because if you think your idea is good enough to share with even one other person, drafting is going to make sure that all the pieces are there. So how do you know you hit the end? Like, what's the final draft? Well, for most professional writers, the final draft is kind of whatever you have when the deadline hits, which is unfortunate. Otherwise, it's what do you feel good about, right? What can you show somebody else, and they'll have an opinion, they'll have a thought, they'll feel something. That's the final draft. Unfortunately, you have your accountability partners, so you can send them, draft 5 and then draft 8, and then, maybe they are so inclined to write back to you and let you know what's going on in their head. But yeah, like, you need to be drafting. If you're going to take writing seriously, if you're going to try to develop a story or have your ideas be presented to the world, you need to take the time to draft. And yes, it does take time. A lot of time. Most content nowadays, especially the stuff that's produced online, it'll go from concept to execution within a day. There's no second draft. Maybe there's an editor that might change a few things around, but the idea is soft. It's never what it could be. And you can tell. But you can also tell what's been rigorously drafted. You can tell because a lot of people are invested into making sure that idea is as good as it can be. So whatever it is, I'd say at least give it 4 drafts. Try it out. See what happens. And then modify your process from there.